Live.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another On the Verge podcast. Tonight is Tuesday, January 13th, and tonight we're broadcasting from the Capitol. Tonight we are in legislative days, and our guest here in a minute, I'm going to introduce him. He's also here with me, but welcome to On the Verge. This is your conservative podcast of Southern Oregon. We are a conservative voice. We only tell the truth here. We are a very conservative podcast. However, we do also interview and we discuss things of topics that are not necessarily conservative. And if you don't like what we have to say, that's okay. You don't have to watch us. And I always start my podcast off with that because there is a nice little company down in Roseburg, Little Mill Media, that's part of our sponsorship. That actually handles our podcast, and they can put together a podcast just fit for you. So if you like what we have to say, thanks for joining us, and we hope to be able to give you some good information. Part of the reason for this podcast, and actually the majority of the reason for this podcast, is to bring you the truth and what's happening in Oregon politics. And we are going to continue that mission. And I want to start out real quick with just reading off some of our sponsors, because we do have some people to help pay for this podcast. Becky Holmes Insurance is one of them. Andrea Williams Advocare, she just re-upped today. Bill Hagedorn Construction, and of course Little Mill Media is on the other side of the camera, is looking back at us. And our state senator David Brock Smith is also part of our sponsorship for this event. So thank you again for joining us. And with that said, I want to first off introduce my guest, Jeff Helfrich. And Jeff, tell us who you are.
Hey, Virgil, thanks for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. For your audience, I was down there, 2 years ago at the Reagan Day dinner.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Helfrich, State Representative for House District 52. And that district encompasses from the Dalles Dam downriver along the Columbia till you hit the Sandy River, goes into Gresham a little bit, and then cuts back around on Highway 26 on the north side, goes outside of Sandy. Then I have the rest of Clackamas County with Mount Hood, obviously, all of Hood River County, and the north end of Wasco County. So I cover rural to urban, that interface. Been in the legislature, came in 17, lost my election, rebid, came back and won. Ended up serving with Virgil in 23. Later that year, became a House Republican leader. And from that, served from 23 to 24 as leader, and then got reelected. And my father passed away, so I stepped away from leadership because I was looking around at my kids and I was watching them grow up without their dad, because I had spent so much time and energy to become leader. And what that job actually entails, it's really tough and it's a lot of work. But, came back and I'm a couple of committees. I'm on transportation, I'm on housing, and then public safety, ways and means subcommittee, and just happy to be here. It's, for me, this is a second career, if you will, because I was a police officer in the city of Portland. I did that for 25 and a half years. I got to anywhere from ride mountain bikes, ride horses, was a sergeant, detectives, went through a different variety of assignments, but that kind of shaped me and my pragmatic approach to let's go solve problems, and let's figure that out and be honest about how we're going to do business, and let's move the state in the right direction, because we are off track.
Amen to that. And thank you for joining us, Jeff. And I will tell everybody, Jeff is one of my mentors in the building. He's been here longer than me. He knows things, and I've learned a lot from him, and I appreciate his guidance and help on some things. And I do have to point out that normally Jeff will tell you that his district is the most beautiful district in Oregon, and he forgot to tell you that this time. So I'm going to tell you that House District 2 is the most beautiful place in Oregon. But no, I don't want to slight the Hood River area. It's beautiful up there. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I avoided that because I did go down the Rogue River over the summer and had the 4-day float trip. That's gorgeous country down there. It is gorgeous. I still tout my Mount Hood and everything else, but yeah, it's good stuff. So, Virgil, I appreciate your kind words. I'm always here just trying to help, and how do we get better, and how do you make your team better? Because there's a lot of times people don't want to get their teammates better. They want to take the glory and take the victory laps and all that. And it's like, that's not how you build a team. You got to have a team effort to get us back into the majority.
Oh yeah, and and a little bit later here, we're going to talk about some of the wins that you had when you were our leader for the minority party as well. But I don't want to slight Trent here. Trent, you know what? You've been with me, I think, on every single podcast since we started, and we've been in business now, a year, a little over a year.
Yeah.
So people probably know who you are, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, Trent Drake. I am the Douglas County Republican chair for the Central Committee here in Douglas County, and Virgil's campaign manager. Plus, I work with the other fellows the other elected officials down here, including our everything from our commissioners to our local sheriff and even our county clerk, who is probably one of the most awesome guys I've ever met. And we work hard to support you guys and to move the agenda forward.
Let me jump in, Trent. When I was down there for that dinner, I would say Hood River, Wasco County are really organized and do a good job, but you guys did a tremendous job down there. That event was awesome. I wish I would have actually grabbed a hotel room closer. You knew it was happening, so I could get a hotel room, had to drive up the freeway, but I really enjoyed my time down there. I boogied down there from Salem and to get there and had to get back to the district. But you guys got a great event, great venue. I really appreciate being down there and being the speaker for you guys. I really appreciate the hospitality.
Right on. You're always welcome down to any of our events.
It was a fun event.
Yeah, it was a good time.
One thing I have to say, I give Trent some kudos. I mean, I've seen the Republican Party in Douglas County. Well, I've been obviously involved in it for quite a few years, and I've seen it kind of go through its ups and downs. And what I'm seeing right now is we really have kind of started pulling together, and it's nice. I mean, not only are you supporting, not only the Republican Party is supporting our elected officials, we're actually going out there and promoting them, not just supporting them. So I know we have an incumbent dinner thing coming up that we're going to celebrate the incumbents, and we have my actual kickoff event is this Saturday. So anybody that's watching that doesn't have an invite or hasn't, you can go on my Facebook and get it. But it's 4:00 Saturday at the UCC at the I never can think of the name of the building. It's the Wine Institute. Is that right, Trent?
Right, the Danny Lang Center.
Yeah. So we're going to have our current leader, Lucetta Elmer, is going to be speaking. Also, Brad Odell, our undersheriff, he's going to be speaking. And then we have Senator David Brock-Smith that's speaking as well. And I believe Representative Younker's coming to the event. And I think I heard Representative Scarlatos is coming. And Jeff, you're always welcome. It's a long drive for you, but
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We will have a good time, and we'll talk a lot about some really cool stuff. I just have a feeling. So moving on, let's get into some of our topics for today. We've got a lot going on. So we're in legislative days, and those of you who don't know what that means that this is the time when we get together as legislators, usually about 3 or 4 times a year out of
Four
session.
times a year. Four times a year out of, yeah.
And we have public hearings, and we talk about bills that will be introduced during session. And as you know, if you follow politics, session is the one time of the year that we can do the most damage to our state. And we can also do some good, but we do probably more damage. And I say I use that term lightly. I will have to say our majority party does a lot of damage, but this is a time when we start having those discussions and we start putting in ideas that either modify or make bills better, or talk about the bills that we have coming up. And today, Jeff, I don't know what committees you had going on today. I had our economic development, small business committees going on today, and I've got a little bit to talk about that. But Jeff, what do you have going on today?
So the one committee I had today was transportation, and that's been a big topic since the end of session. Then special session happened. Tax got put out there. Ed Deal and his group and you and others were able to get that enough signatures, 250,000 signatures, to say Oregonians want their voice heard. They want to be able to vote on that, vote no on that tax. And we're talking about that, and they're talking about the governor's talking about trying to pull the rug out of that and not giving the people a chance to vote on that. And that's unfortunate. There's talk about that, and it's in the newspaper. We asked the chair McLean. The majority party has the chair, has all the gavels. She didn't know what was going on, and there's a bunch of what they call committee bills, which is a bill that the committee can have. They can have X amount of bills. We only get 2 as legislators, 2 priority bills, but the committee can have as many as they need, and they introduce those bills as what they would call placeholders. And so, gotta buckle up, people. Wait and see, because there's even talk about, and this kind of gets in the weeds, and maybe some people will understand it, but they have what they call a 50-30-20 split. Out of the gas tax, 50% of that tax that the gas is collected gets sent to ODOT. 30% goes to cities and 20% goes to counties. And so somebody stepped up, it was Paul Evans in committee, said, I want to write an amendment just to get rid of that. And the cities and counties can kind of figure out how they're going to do it. And we're going to just fund what we need with ODOT with those dollars from the road user tax. And that is going to set a lot of people, a lot of counties and cities are going to go, well, how are we going to fix our roads? How are we going to do this? Because we're relying on that 20-30 split that they get from the state. And so, again, people in local communities are going to start facing more taxes themselves if that happens. And if the city and county has to create their own tax for roads, add more money, it's going to be more money out of your guys' pockets down there. And we've got the money. It's just how you spend it. And what do they want to spend it on? The DEI stuff, or do you want to spend it on actual solutions? That's the problem.
Well, and it would burden counties that are especially, well, of course, when you get to Multnomah County, Clackamas County, some of the counties that are, the population is much higher and they're more well funded, they could probably handle the hit. But when you get to Douglas County or, Josephine County, Jackson County, any of the Southern Oregon counties that are, I heard today Representative Juncker was talking about the unemployment rate in his county was 7.3% or something like that. I mean, we can't afford another tax. We can't take the hit. We don't have the jobs. Businesses are leaving like crazy, and we're going to get into some of those details here in just a few minutes as well. But they're looking for a way out. And frankly, I want people to understand, and part of this podcast is to educate people. I want people to understand that they are looking for a way out. They do not want this on the ballot. We want it on the ballot because 250,000 people said they want it on the ballot.
Yep.
We want the opportunity to vote on this. And frankly, what it does is it puts it on the ballot right next to the governor's name. And the governor and all the Democrats that voted, and every single Democrat plus one Republican used to be a Republican, every single one of them, I wouldn't say everyone, actually one, I think
Hartman didn't vote for it.
Representative Hartman didn't vote for it. She's a Democrat. She's also not running again. But every Democrat and one Republican voted yes on that tax, the biggest tax bill, I think, in the state's history. And now, once Representative Deal and the Oregon Freedom Coalition put it on the referendum out, it got creamed. And
Democrats, Republicans, non-affiliated, working families, libertarians, everybody got on it. It was the amount. I remember somebody making comment on the majority side saying, yeah, we see you get the petition filed or you have a PAC started to no tax for the road tax. We want to vote. And they said, well, it's only $90,000. You guys aren't going to be able to get the signatures. That's nothing. You ain't going to get anything on that. Like, you better watch out. It's going to happen. I wouldn't be so sure about that. And then within a matter of weeks, they get all these signatures. Like, it was wildfire. That group didn't get paid to go collect signatures. There was a very minimal social media dollars spent. A lot of money went in, but signs and people, I mean, we were out in Hermiston out hunting, and we stopped at this little pizza place and signed the petition here in this restaurant, and it was everywhere. And it's incredible to see that. But yet the Democrats want to make sure you don't get a chance to get a vote on it. And the governor doesn't want her name, like he said, next to it, because it is election season. And if we have those two issues at the top of the ticket, guess what? We might be able to claw back some seats.
Oh, absolutely. And I see a message here from Mike Oglesby. They voted yes after 90% of the comments said no. They did not listen to us. And you are absolutely right. We are listening. And that's why we want it on the ballot. We want people to have an opportunity to voice for their voices to be heard, which the first step is done. My fear is that people will think that it's the deed is done. The deed is not done. We still have to vote. And I think we need to vote. And there's a lot of behind the scenes legalities happening right now. There is some constitutional issues as to whether or not they can even pull it off the ballot. So we're going to find, and how many votes it would take to do that. So those are all things that I think. Let's see, short session starts February 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And those are things that are going to come up. We're going to hit that hot and heavy. Scott Kaiser just says, best event I have been involved with since watching everyone come together and during 2025. Absolutely. And I will tell you that your Republican Party is definitely polarized on this. I think we're all on the same page. Would you say so, Jeff?
I would say yes. And I think this is probably one of the most galvanizing things we were able to rally around. Leader Starr did a tremendous job. Ed Deal did a tremendous job. Those two people in this building really made that happen. I know a lot of people want to try to take victory laps on what they did, and there's a lot of good work outside, but in this building, those two were the two key people that actually worked with that. And then the Oregon Tax, the Business Oregon Tax, I can't remember his name.
Taxpayers Association.
Williams is his name, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Those guys did a tremendous job, and God bless them for what they were able to get done. And I know I'll leave some names off, but those are the names that I worked with directly that got that moving forward. It was pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I want to get the Trent, but I just see Ross Van Houten sent a message here. What have you guys heard about LC 302? I'm sorry. And then Scott Kaiser brought up Jody Fleck's name. Jody was very instrumental in making this IP happen. So thank you, Jody. I don't know about LC 302. Do you know any? Have you heard of LC 302?
No, I have not.
Ross, if you don't mind, just send me another message and tell me I'm not sure what you're talking about, but we'll happily comment on it. Now, Trent, I want to go back to you real quick. You're kind of, in touch with the folks on the street. What are you hearing about the transportation referendum?
Nothing but excitement, and I carried ballots with me everywhere I went. Even when I went over Elkhart and over East, I took ballots with me and got people to sign them. When I go out, the whole time, one night I ran into one young lady that said, "No, I'm good. I think the governor's doing the right thing." And when I asked her how so, she came back at me with flavorful rhetorical comments. She didn't have an answer. And, I tried to explain to her, I said, "Hey, look, I'm just asking because I want to know, because I want to be able to take this to leadership to help them to understand not everybody's going to be in favor for it." And I had a 30-year-old girl give me the double birds, and I just waved goodbye to her. It was awesome.
You're double number one, Trent. You get double number one.
Well, and the good news was we were sitting at Looking Glass Brewery, so I just went over and had another beer. It was awesome. And I think that it made her more upset. And then I went over and tried to apologize. I said, "I didn't try to make you upset," and it made it worse. So I think to have only one person in all the weeks I did that, I think it speaks a lot about the community, because I had a lot of my Democrat friends call me that are on my Facebook and go, "Hey, where can I meet you to sign the referendum?"
So I think Ross just clarified. He says the tax swap from income to sales, and I think that goes back to maybe Trent mentioned that Ed Deal had posted something today about some stuff, but that I have not heard it called LC 302. But right now bills are not officially bills; they're all legislative concepts right now. So that'll probably turn into a bill. Have you heard anything about that? A sales tax, Jeff?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
That's taboo in the state. We've already had these discussions how many times about a sales tax.
Yeah,
they got rid of another one. People might entertain that, but as it stands right now, people do not want a sales tax.
Yeah.
But we see there's hidden taxes everywhere.
Yeah.
And anytime a tax is passed, it can go right back to the same process that Representative Deal just started with the other tax. We can avoid taxes as a state. We just have to get together and make it happen. There was another question. I got this question earlier today, and this kind of will play into something I want to talk to Jeff about. But a lady had messaged me today, and she says, "How do we stop sanctuary state status?" I believe, Jeff, you've been longer than me here. Isn't sanctuary state something that was put into the Constitution?
No, I think it's a law. I don't think they put it in the Constitution. I think it's just an ORS.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it's just an ORS. And it was in the late 90s, I think is when it went in.
Okay. So the only way to really turn that around is the legislature can come back and change the law.
And repeal it.
Yeah, we can repeal it. We can amend it. And, unfortunately, and I wish that I could come on this show and not say how we have to change the makeup of the legislature to make these things happen. I wish I could come on here and say, the Republican Party is now in the majority, or at least we're close to it. So yeah, we can introduce things and they're going to listen to us. But I'll be frank with you, the Democrats are polarized on not letting that happen right now. So I think we're going to be a sanctuary state indefinitely. Now, I also heard today, and I believe it was announced today, that Trump was planning on cutting off the funding for sanctuary states. And I think I heard February 15th.
Yep. I heard that this morning.
Yeah. So how's that going to affect us? Well, we're going to see things like the transportation package fall apart. We're going to see our the money that comes in from the feds for schools and other programs. It's going to go away. And frankly, our governor doesn't. She's more concerned about DEI. She's more concerned about the unions and SEIU and all of those other things that she's concerned about than she is about the people here in Oregon. Now, that can play out badly for her in November.
Right. So I guess Virgil, let me jump in a little real quick. So one of the things I learned being around from my time, local politics into state politics and where we landed in leadership. And one thing is very apparent. They always say, well, Portland and the metro area is what controls the state. Well, really, what controls the state and what controls what goes on is the power base of the Senate president, the Speaker of the House, and the governor. When you hold all three branches are held by Democrats, and they're all from different areas.
Mhm.
You know, and President Wagner is up in Ottaway, Oswego. Governor Kotek is up out of North Portland where her house was at, but she was a community organizer up there, and then Speaker Fahey's down in Eugene, but Rayfield was down in that same area too.
Yeah.
And it's those three people, and it's the three people that support them, those special interest groups, the unions, the nonprofits, all those things like that. That's where the policy starts. So we have to break, one of the chambers has to break through to stop this repetition of this bad policy. And whether it's in the Senate, when I'm running for Senate District 26, or you get the House closer to 28-32, whatever those things are, that's really where it's at. Can we get to the majority? That was my goal as House leader. We fell short, but you can't stop trying. And there's ways to do it, because keeping this tax referendum on, or keeping this ballot measure on the referendum or on the ballot, that's what's going to really drive people out to vote, because the Democrats are going to frame everything's Trump's fault, Trump's fault, Trump's fault. Well, no, it's not. It's the state of Oregon. It's the mismanagement from the cat tax, from all these hidden sales tax. And then you've got 9,000 jobs that have left the state, manufacturing jobs over the last couple of years. You got 2,400 jobs that have left Intel. And like, oh, Jeff, those are all worldwide. They're doing that. Well, no, let's not.
Well, they're
There's when there's uncertainty in the marketplace, businesses don't invest. And what's the uncertainty in the marketplace? Is Oregon going to be business friendly? That's a business market. Did they pull out because our schools are ranked towards the bottom? Did they pull out because land use laws here are so bad and so hard to get things built? There's
Right.
that. And then there's taxes. Then you don't have a transportation system that's worth anything, because you got all these potholes and all this. So why do we want to keep our people here? And on top of that, they can't afford houses.
No.
So we can't build enough houses. Our land use laws, you've got people, the NIMBYs, not in my backyard, that are always, not this development, not this house. We want to keep it whatever the way it was. And I'm going to tell you, Senate Bill 100 was made for keeping Californians out of here. Didn't do that great a job, but we have preserved our beautiful state. You've got the road, you got the Columbia River, we got a bunch of beautiful places, but there's places that you can actually build houses. But then you got cities charging $40,000 to get building permits and to get service development fees hooked up. And all that stuff gets passed on to the consumer. I mean, I could show you a place in Hillsboro, Oregon, where 1 acre's worth $100,000 or $200,000, and on the other side of the road, it's worth about $20,000.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. And I understand land use laws. I get we want to keep our exclusive farm use. We can't bulldoze everything and make grow stuff without water, and like you're doing out in Eastern Oregon. But we got good fertile soil here. So if the cities want to have these things, you guys build those skyscrapers in the cities, not in these other areas, and people don't want to live down there. So it's been unaffordable, the crime, the drugs, all that stuff.
And that tags right on to the committee that I had today, which was economic development, small business economic development. And I'm going to throw out some numbers for you guys. And these are, and I'll get feedback from the podcast. People will say, "Oh, you're lying." This came from Oregon. This came from the state of Oregon. These numbers I'm going to give you today came from Oregon Business. This is a comparison to where Oregon was in 2019 compared to where it ended in 2025. So our overall rating of all of these categories I'm about to tell you, we went from, in 2019, we were ranked number 22 out of 50. 2025, we're ranked 39th. So we've lost 17 points in our overall economy, basically. But it gets worse. So our economy ranking in 2019, we were 7th in the nation for a strong economy. In 2025, we are 41st. We've lost 34 points. And I'm going to just tell you right now, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we weren't in charge. We weren't the guys. Republicans weren't the ones that sent this thing over the cliff. And everything we've tried to bring it back, we haven't been able to do that because they don't even listen to us. Cost of doing business in 2019, we were ranked 31st. In 2025, we've lost 12 points. We're ranked 43rd. Workforce in 2019, we were ranked 19th in the country. In 2025, we are 23rd out of 50. This one's the one that just pisses me off. Sorry, I'll keep my language good, but business friendliness in 2019. Now, all the way back in 2019, we were ranked 43rd in business friendliness, which tells you that tells a story in itself. But in 2025, we've lost 4 points. We're ranked 47th. We're the 47th worst state for business friendliness. Quality of life. In 2019, we were ranked 16th. We've lost 3 points. We're ranked 19th. Technology and innovation. In 2019, we were actually ranked 12th, and I'm sure that was because of Intel. And now we've lost 2 points in 2025. We're down to rank 14th. Let's see. Cost of living. Here's a good one. Cost of living. We stayed even. We're ranked 45th, and we were ranked 45th in 2019. 45th out of 50. Cost of living. I mean,
nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing to be proud of. Education's about a wash. We're still ranked 35, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood. Infrastructure, we've actually went up. And I will tell you, I think infrastructure probably the state has spent money on infrastructure, tax money. So we have actually improved it. I think a lot of that probably had to do with internet and all of that technological service and that type of thing. We had our meeting today. We talked about the governor's plan for prosperity. Now, it's finally time. Thank God the Democrats wake up and start talking about prosperity, because as you can see by the numbers I just gave you, we're in the toilet. However, it's an election year, so she has to talk about prosperity, and she has to have a plan, because it doesn't campaign. She won't campaign she doesn't campaign well without it. So today they announced in committee, then I'm sure we'll see a bill for this, for some things to happen to make things better. First, they stated the reasons for the crisis: slow population growth, elevated unemployment, and businesses leaving. I'm just, as they're reading these things off, I'm going, I mean, are you blind? I mean, this is not something that started in 2025. This is something we should have addressed in 2018, 2016, 2015. Go back and back. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to fast track permits. They're going to audit permits. They're going to look into programs to help for site readiness. They're going to update an enterprise zone modernization, make things a little easier for businesses to come in. But here's where the kicker comes. It's $150 million threshold. So you don't get to enjoy any of those benefits of this new prosperity plan unless you plan on spending $150 million to put your business in Oregon. Now, the first question I asked, and I got an honest answer. I asked Business Oregon, I'm like, hey, explain to me how $150 million threshold helps Douglas County or helps rural Oregon at all. I said, yeah, I mean, so they're going to employ $150 million business coming in. They're going to employ a bunch of people. What about those businesses that want to spend $25 million to move here and employ 50 people? We need a lot of small businesses. We don't have it. And Jeff, I know this has been something, because you were really tied into the housing stuff over the last, homelessness and the housing issues over the last few years. Just give me your thoughts on this. I mean, you've been around a long time.
Housing is gone up exponentially because of the permitting process and the amount of time and the land use laws. There's a anecdotal story, development that was getting put into Hillsborough. They went through all the land use permitting issues. Hillsborough said, yep, approved, go. Started breaking dirt. Neighbor said, I don't like that. I want to contest this. So they went through the whole process. It goes to LUBA, and this took out 5 years. And that 5 years, after 5 years, LUBA says, yep, you can do it. Go ahead. Same, they started digging. Then somebody in Portland, from Portland, didn't like that. And that was not my backyard type of person, because they could maybe see it. I don't know what they're driving through, and they thought it was bad. And then they decided to throw a fit about it. And it goes all the way through the process again, goes to the court system, goes to LUBA. LUBA says, no, you can build here. And so almost 15 years later, the group that has invested, started putting infrastructure in, paying interest on their loan on the land that they purchased, because they couldn't walk away from it.
Yeah.
Now they're able to finally build almost 15 years later. How much is that going to cost? What's the return on investment? Again, uncertainty in the market. If there's uncertainty in the marketplace, why do people want to invest here? We went and gave $500 million, I think it was what it was. And the governor special permitting process one time for, these fabs for the Intels of the world to do fabrication for semiconductors. Nobody came here because guess what? business is tough to do here, and everything costs more money. And a simple thing where you go to build a house and you got your permits, and you now are going to start digging the dirt, and they say, okay, we need $40,000 from you for your permits. You got to shell out $40,000 before you can start. And there are in that $40,000, 20,000 of that is hooking up for sewer development fees, SDCs for sewer development fees. So you're paying for the sewer that you can't even use yet. You're not even flushing organics down a tube, whether they're solid or liquid, and you're still expected to pay for that service. And you haven't even put the infrastructure in to get to that point. And so we had a bill that says, let's delay in housing. It was working with one of our housing friends, and they said, can we delay this for once they get the certificate of occupancy, then they'll pay that $20,000 for the sewer hookup fee, because nobody's living in there yet, but they got the certificate of occupancy. So that means they can actually start getting towards selling that. The cities are so strapped, with the city of Portland and Hillsborough, whoever, the special interest groups that are fighting for these cities, they need those dollars for operating costs.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You need those dollars for operating costs and nobody's in there and you just want this extra money? Does it go to the bank and you're living off the interest? That is where these permitting process, the system is broken. We have to have a wholesale cleaning of it. And I saw somebody in the comments says, Virgil for governor. I'm like, yeah, keep at it, Sean. Keep telling him, get him his first couple million to get him to run for governor. I'm right behind him. I'll help him out. But the system is broken, and it's just set up so the special interests continue to get their way, whether it's the unions or whoever.
Jeff, I think we talked about this last week with Commissioner Boyce. You know, one of the things that I see from the Democrat leadership is you've got a leadership of people that don't understand business. You know, my goodness, we got a governor who was a community leader.
Right.
Where do you learn business 101 on how to balance your darn checkbook and run a business and pay an employee, or expand a business and scale it up and use the capitalization to grow doing that? How do you understand that? And why are you always trying to put something out there that stifles the growth? I've got friends at Intel right now that they're moving to North Carolina.
Yeah, I see my friend
company.
Les Poole just put in there $53K for new home permits in Clackamas County. So it just depends on where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So also Ross made a comment. He says he hears pay to play. Well, I brought that up today, Ross. It may be a little different context than what you're talking about, but similar. So when the governor's talking about giving breaks to these big businesses that are coming in, what she's talking about is giving them breaks on the expense of coming here, right? And basically what that means is she's saying, okay, we're going to take taxpayers' money, we're going to pay your expenses with that, and we're going to feed our agencies right back the money that I mean, it's just a giant circle, right? And so you're not wrong. I questioned that today. I didn't get much of a response, but I also questioned some other stuff too. I said to the gal in committee, and you can go back and watch these committees. They're on OLIS. But I said, okay, what I hear is this. I said, I hear that you guys are not deregulating. You're just offering to pay for those regulations, right? Or which means basically taxpayer wasted money. And she says, we have no intention, because I brought up specifically wetlands mitigation and reasons for it's why it's so hard to develop in Oregon. And she said, our intention is not to change any of the zoning or any of the regulations. We're just, offering to help. I go, okay, that doesn't help.
It doesn't fix the problem.
Yeah, it doesn't fix the problem. Rural Oregon is in a bind, and we are not getting out of it this way. Listen, I've gone over a little bit on the time when I normally do my sponsors, but Jeff, Trent and I are gonna read off a couple of sponsors. These guys pay our bills, and we appreciate that. And then we're gonna get back to something I want to talk about, some Measure 110 stuff with you. So I think I will go first, and then I'll let Trent go second. We still have a couple of really great sponsors with us, and tonight we still have Andrea Williams with the Andrea Williams Advocare distributor. And I'm just going to read her ad, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So holiday hangover is real and has a lot of people feeling like a busted can of biscuits. I like that. Bloated, low energy, bad mood. Coffee just isn't cutting it anymore. When clothes start fitting tighter and motivation is low, Andrea Williams helps men and women reset without extremes. With over 11 years of coaching experience, her 10-day reset is on sale, and the 24-day jumpstart includes a free canister of Spark this month. and you get free one-on-one coaching. Reach out to Andrea Williams, Advocare Distributor on Facebook, or you can go to her website, healthyhabittribe.org, all one word, healthyhabittribe.org, and she will help you. Now, I talked to her today, messaging, and she said, I really haven't seen a whole lot coming out of the podcast as far as advertisements. She hasn't got a lot of customers. Please go to her site. She sells amazing products, and she's an amazing person. Her weight loss journey on her own was pretty cool. I watched.
Amazing.
Yeah. I use Spark, and I'm not an advocate for any of that kind of stuff, but I've used it, and it's healthy. And I actually today I'm working on getting an order from her. So it's a great business. She's a great person. Please support her. We appreciate her, even though hasn't sold a lot from our podcast. She's staying with us, and she's re-upping for another. I don't know. I haven't seen a check. I don't know how many months she's going to do, but we appreciate every bit of it. And with that, Trent, you have somebody else.
Absolutely. And I switched to Spark instead of an afternoon coffee. And myself personally, I've used supplements all my life, being an athlete and in the strength industry. I've relied on Advocare for years. So I'm going to read for my buddy Bill Hagedorn in construction. We're going to see him this weekend. Matter of fact, at the kickoff. For all your construction needs, new additions, remodels, deck, fencing, flooring, and the work and tile work, we have you covered. If we can't do it, we'll find someone who can. Check us out on Facebook and see some of our work. Bill Hagedorn Construction, 541-817-3704. And he's done some remodel work, and he did some addition. He added a doorway in my breezeway for me and does great work.
Yeah, Bill's amazing guy. And if you can believe it or not, somebody's knocking on my door. So, yeah,
it's gonna be.
Hang tight. I'll be right there. I want to let me go back and answer a question. This is and Richard Vandervelden asked this question. He says Supreme Court 6-3 vote again says the local judges cannot make national decisions. How does this affect the BS Rayfield has been wasting on Oregon tax dollars? You are right. We have spent $3.1 million suing the Trump administration that we know of. $885,000 of that went to trying to stop the National Guard coming to Portland. And I can't remember. I had the notes somewhere here, but I think what we're about to find out is that federal law is actually going to be federal law. Excuse me for 1 second, but Jeff, comment on that, and I'll be right back.
I will. So I'm on Ways and Means Committee, which means that's where the money gets distributed. Public safety's mine, and in that portfolio is the Department of Justice. Attorney General Dan Rayfield didn't see the need to show up to committee. There's one of my committee members right there, Senator David Brock-Smith. How you doing, David?
Good.
And I posed the question to his staff that was there, like, how much money is being spent on the lawsuits? And then on top of that, there are about $1 billion+ sitting in a bank account for all these lawsuits when it came to the drug companies and some water stuff and things like that. Where's those dollars at? Can you use those? Can we supplement those dollars to pay for your costs? And then I don't really think that $3 million is a true figure, because the state agencies have to pay, they pay him for the services, and it's just the shell game that the government's able to do quite a bit. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
I had a bill for that.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I apologize. Senator David Brock-Smith, District 1. So it's good to see everyone. And
when you're in the building during this time of year, you never know who's going to pop in. And
I just finished over in my office, so I knew your show started an hour late, so I figured I'd pop over. But you have a situation where so I did have legislation, because right now the AG's office charges all the agencies for their budget. That then, so they're taking ODF and W and taking licensures from them, DSL. They're actually, in some cases, there's been cases in the past where people have come to me and they're creating more work for themselves so that they can create more revenue for their department. And so in previous sessions, including last session, I've had legislation that would put them in the general fund like anyone else. And if they not be able to charge the different departments and other agencies for their services, they would be Oregon's attorneys and the agency's attorneys. And then if they needed more money, they'd have to come to the Ways and Means and the E-Board, and Rayfield, the Oregon Attorney General, would have to sit in front of us and tell us why he needs more money for his agency, rather than whenever they do, they just charge other agencies like ODF and W. And
Yeah, which is bad because then your hunt license goes up in
That's right.
price. Yeah. So
I want to just real quick, because David kind of touched on it, but what people don't understand is the fuzzy government math, and that fuzzy government math comes from DAS, which is Department of Administrative Services, that runs all the buildings. They run. So the buildings that we own, they have to lease back. So ODOT leases back their building, and they have to pay DAS a portion of that. Every single hookup that there is for internet, for your telephone, whatever it is, rentals of the computers and all that goes back. So it's now nobody really owns anything other than DAS, and you have to rent all the equipment back and turn it back in. And so it's this shell game. And so once we start figuring out where all the money is getting hidden at and have the waste, this is the stuff we talk about: waste, fraud, and abuse. Just with DAS in itself is where you have to rent back a building that you're already there, like the cars, motor pool cars. ODOT owns certain vehicles, but there's certain vehicles that they lease back from DAS. And it's just the amount of waste that goes on in this place it's mind boggling. You're trying to fix it. And when you're in the majority, David and I came in about the same time in 17, and David came in before I did, but in 17, it's a learning experience. You learn so much more every day you're in here, and how much, you're trying to fix stupid, and it's tough sometimes.
Well, you know what? There's a sign in my window that says you can't fix stupid. It is frustrating. I mean, I'm learning as I go too, and it's very frustrating sometimes. You see things and you just go, "Come on, guys, this just doesn't make sense." But yet we seem to be able to do it.
you can fix stupid if we're in the majority.
If we're in the
You're
majority,
not wrong there, David. We got to get there.
Right.
so
You mentioned something about too, the hunt and fishing license or something like that went up. They did, and they went up a bunch, and
Yeah,
there's a bunch of new endorsements that are ridiculous.
yeah, and we're paying attention, guys, and we're not. Again, in Oregon, agencies make their own rules and they set their own
Right.
fees, and that's another bad side. I want to pivot here, guys, because we only got about 20 minutes left or so, 15 minutes. I want to pivot on something. Jeff, you're running for office.
Yep.
Higher office than where you're at now. I'm going to say higher. It's called the other side of the building.
It's the other side of the building.
One of the things you're famous for was Measure 110 repeal, right? So I remember working with you pretty darn close on getting it. I'm going to let you explain to everybody, first off, what 110 was and kind of what happened, how you got there, and then tell us what you're running for. And we obviously were supporting it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And, David was there when we were talking about the initial 110 reform, but Measure 110 was on the ballot in 2020. And it basically, the first line says marijuana dollars would be used for recovery and drug addiction services. The second line, what it said was then reclassify certain possession crimes. Well, not a lot of people understood what that second line meant. What that meant is heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, all these bad drugs that were normally at one point they were felonies, but then the legislative body decided to make them misdemeanors. Then they turned around and took those all the way down to what would be considered a Class D violation, and that basically all that was a parking ticket. And what that created was an open air drug market. It created a business environment for drug dealers to come here and say, "Look, sell your drugs. It's free. You're not going to get in trouble. You're not going to get in trouble for using them." And then you saw the mass homeless thing come in. Then you had COVID. All these confluences, things came together, and we saw a society go the walking zombies. We saw that, the apocalypse, if you would, and it affected every corner of the state. Nobody was immune to it. And Portland was the example because of the tent cities and things, but you had stuff down in Southern Oregon. And when I became leader, we had an avenue. There was people would say, let's call for special session and full repeal. And I played in my mind the long game as a police officer, planning out 4 or 5 steps ahead. It's like, okay, if they give a special session, we lose control. So then what? And so we crafted a policy. We got everybody kind of on the same sheet of music. And some people, we took them along kicking and screaming. But at the end of the day, the Democrats were going to do something, and they were going to take a victory lap. So we could either sit at the table and have the conversation, or let them take the victory lap, and then in election season show, you didn't do anything. Republicans are bad. We're on public safety. And at the end of the day, I saw what drugs did. I saw people that died from drugs. I gave them uh, help them get medical attention, all those things like that. And we had to do something because people were dying. And so, you know, it was battle back and forth with Rayfield. He and I sat in that office and we battled and battled and battled until we kind of came up with an unclassified misdemeanor. He says, "Hey, what do you think about unclassified misdemeanor?" Like, still ain't misdemeanor. He goes, "Yeah, but my people, his Democrat colleagues, couldn't swallow and worry about any misdemeanor." I said, "As long as we call it a drug enforcement misdemeanor, it carries the same weight to it." Got everybody together. What we did that was different was when we put that bill together and got all the smart people in the room and got it all hammered out with all the different ideas, we put our flag out there and we planted that bill out there in front of everybody. And the Democrats kind of pushed back, "Oh, it's half baked. It's this, it's that. It's not going to work," while they're having their secret meetings with the Drug Policy Alliance, the George Soros groups. And I kept launching. I kept throwing my grenades. I kept poking the bear. I kept saying, "Here's the starting line. Here's where to negotiate." Rayfield was not prepared for that, and the Democrats were not prepared for that. We as a caucus held together. The Senate held together, and guess what? We got something fixed.
Well, and the other part, Representative, was we were able to hold the coalition of the sheriffs, the DAs, the cities, the counties all together as well.
Yeah.
And that was critically important because they tried, there was no chink in the armor, and they tried like hell, and we held them together. And so they knew they couldn't go against all of those chiefs of police, everyone.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, I can tell you one day, Sheriff's Association, DAs, and some other people were all up in arms about something what we're trying to do, and my chief of staff and then my comms director were all in line complaining. And there was a yelling match on the Hood River. I'm fishing with my son, and I'm just battling back and forth. My son's got a steelhead on. I'm like, "Give me a second here." And it was one of those moments, but it was important. And we held together. They tried picking people off to just, "Oh, we can just make it a little bit better this way. We're not going to do that." And that's one of the things I'm really proud of. We did hold together. And, you know, we had campaign finance reform and we had a housing package when I was leader. And so that said, when when I was leader, my dad passed away. I knew he was sick. I didn't get a chance to be. I was with him when he died, but I wasn't be able to there through the whole time. And so then took a break. And once the election was over, went back home and just kind of took stock of what my life was. And I'm looking at my kids and my wife. I'm like, man, there's a lot of time I missed with these guys. I've only you get one chance on this earth, and let's not waste it. And so, you know, I decided to step away from leadership. And then at the time, we knew Senator Bonham couldn't run again because of the walkout and stuff. And so I announced with that. And now I'm running for Senate District 26, which is, you know, House District 51 and 52. I've got David Brock Smith and there's a good Senator David Brock Smith and Representative Osborne. I'm looking at the camera. Those guys have endorsed me. They believe I'm going to be a good senator, and I'm going to go hang out on the other side of the building. It's a little slower pace. You get, instead of every 16 months you're running, you get 3 years to actually get good policy and relationships. And that's really what this business is about, relationships and being able to understand how it works in the building and how to make something better if it's possible. There's just bad stuff you can't make better, but there's opportunities to get stuff, work together and get some things done. And that's why I want to come be a senator and actually get good policy work going. And, you know, it is kind of the country club atmosphere on the Senate side, a little slower. They got nap time and things like that. They got to do not disturb signs up. And
No, I'm happy that you're running for Senate, and I'll tell you why. I think that and one of the things that you and I we've got some police background, you know, but you kind of get it, right? I mean, it's a tough job. I mean, anybody thinks that coming into this building is easy, even in a hardcore conservative district like my own, it's not easy. Today I had phone calls today and an email or two that were like nasty, right? It's like, yeah. I don't know how you get to the right of me. I'm pretty right? But yet, I mean, there might be my neighbor a couple doors down here might be a little farther right, but just saying, you seem to always, and I think this probably speaks to your police background. You've always, at least as long as I've known you, it's been going on 4 years. You've always had a very level head, right? I mean, you don't really get rocked. I mean, I've seen you mad. We all get mad, but you don't really get rocked. You're able to just kind of to go along and figure things out and move forward. So I appreciate that. We're going to support you, of course.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think here's what I would say. I appreciate that compliment, Virgil. 25 and a half years of not knowing if I'm going to go home at night. What's the next traffic stop going to look like? What's the next domestic violence call? Been in a shooting and these deadly force encounters, all those things. And I remember at the time it was Speaker Kotek. She goes, "How are you liking being rep, Jeff?" Well, there's no blood, no dead body on the ground. It's pretty good. It's a good day. And carried that through there. But unfortunately, you've seen, 2 assassination attempts on our former and current president, and then the Charlie Kirk assassination. So it is a job that you got to watch your back. You have to. You just never know who's going to come out of the woodwork that doesn't like you or that didn't take your medication for the day or something, and they do bad things. And so I do enjoy the job. I got, like I said, a 13 and 11-year-old at home, and I want them to, they never got to see me, they've seen me on the Cops TV show, and I've been on that, but I
actually saw that episode. I saw you on Cops. I was like, I
I'm the young version of Jeff right there, wasn't it?
yeah.
And then, I got to be on the Mounted Patrolman, all those great things that really prepared me for this job, and, on into the Senate. And I appreciate you and David's kind words. And I just look forward to getting over there and just creating common sense, because that's what we're lacking in this building when it comes to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I think they have a great idea. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that's great. No, it's not a really good idea.
And I do want to add something personal about Jeff. Jeff and I have worked together. He was in the house, and then he left and he came back. And Jeff went through, as he mentioned earlier, the loss of his father. And it was the same time, about the same time that I lost my father. And Jeff called me every day at 9 a.m. Every damn day, Jeff called me just to say, "Hi, what you doing? How you doing?" Every day for months, Jeff called to make sure, just to check in. And so I will forever be grateful for you helping me, and hopefully me helping you through one of the most difficult times in losing my father.
You're going to make me cry, David.
Amazing man. So,
don't make him cry on my podcast. I'll lighten this up. I'll tell you, one of the things I love about Jeff is he's got a sense of humor.
he does.
And I'm not going to get into what happened in the parking garage, but I warned my chief of staff not to mess with the cop, because they will find a way to get even, and he did. And it was pretty funny. She's probably watching tonight. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a good time there. I had photographic evidence.
Yeah, you did. And
State police came and talked to you.
I got a visit from the state police. Thankfully, they're good guys. So we're getting ready to wrap up here, guys. I want to just give everybody a chance for a last comment. And Trent, you really haven't had a chance to say much, and I'm sorry you're talking a bunch of legislation. We're used to talking all the time, but got anything you want to touch base on?
Well, no, yes, I do. I love listening and learning from you guys. First of all, Jeff, just so you know, down here, if you need something, let me know. I'm, as Virgil can tell you, I'm kind of your go-to guy.
Yeah.
We'll do everything we can help you in your campaign moving forward. And of course, I have to help David.
Well, he's got 2 more. He's got 2 more years before he's got to get elected again. So we're good there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've got some great things going on in Douglas County. I think our Republican Party is under Trent's leadership. We are pulling together. It's been nice to see. We have great commissioners too, and we're supporting them as well.
Love those guys.
They've done some amazing work in Douglas County just to keep the county, upright. I mean, our county, because of the timber dollars lost, and we're in trouble. But for instance, in our last show, we spoke with Commissioner Chris Boyce, a little while about what they've done with the parks in Douglas County. And the Parks Department now is actually putting money back into the general fund. They're actually making money rather than costing money. And those are the things that it's hard to do those things, but the persistence and common sense gets it done, and they've done that. I want to. So we got about 5 minutes, David. You got any comments you want to throw? I get a minute.
No, I just really appreciate the leadership, of course, from Representative Helfrich, and look forward to serving with him in the Senate. You got to make sure you get your bench elected to help Representative Osborne. I appreciate Representative Osborne's leadership. And the commissioner. We have a really great team for Douglas County that is humming. I just had Co-Chair Lieber today. Not threatened, but she's like, "Hey, well, we know where there's $35 million to backfill a budget." And the people need to understand how critically important it was to come together to get that $35 million for the Roseburg Veterans Home.
Yep.
Because as Jeff will tell you, that doesn't, from Hood River, it was the biggest chunk of money for anything. And they knew they were going into a cuts budget.
Right.
And so it's protected for now until it's not. So
funny you bring that up. I had a guy call me today, a constituent, asking about it.
yeah, well, it's just go team. We also need to make sure that we don't allow the Democrats to come up with some legislative voodoo and not have the referral on the ballot in November, and set a precedent that would give this broad authority to the Secretary of State. Just real quick, imagine, Jeff, and Virgil, you imagine. So they do this. They go ahead, then they repeal the bill, and then they make it 5 cents and pass the same damn thing again. Are we going to have to then go out there and get all the signatures and refer it because they all pull it off the ballot, and then we have to go do that again? So then the governor has a special session, and repeals the bill, so it's not on the ballot yet. We can't play this voodoo legislation rigmarole BS and allow that to happen. So.
Right.
So I would say, Senator, that to everybody that's listening, I heard this from President Trump. Vote Republican. Give it a try. We think you'll be surprised. And you look at what's going on with the national economy today, and if you were one of those people that wouldn't think this was going to happen, where the energy of the American engine is chugging, all we got to do is change the leadership.
Well, I saw a stat today: 7.2% of the average wealth, if you will, income is up for the American family, versus 2.5% over Biden's 4 years.
Right.
Let's look at your 401k right now. I know mine's blowing up. I think we're over 15%, which is amazing, which happened the first time Trump was elected too. But I don't want to get into the Trump thing. So in closing, before we close up, a couple things. Saturday, 4:00, the my campaign kickoff event happens at Umpqua Community College, the Wine Institute. Senator Brock Smith is going to be one of our speakers there, as well as our leader, Lucetta Elmer, and Under Sheriff Brad Odell. I understand there is going to be a lot of other folks coming. I understand Danielle Bethel will be in attendance, and also I heard Representative Scarlatos and Representative Juncker, and there may be a few others. So we're going to have some time, social time. If anybody wants to meet some folks and have a chance to talk, it'll be a great time to do that. Jeff, are you going to do a kickoff event for your campaign?
I think we'll do it after the short session. We'll get one going. But, if anybody wants to know what's going on, you get my Facebook page, Helfrich for Oregon. I got a good Instagram account going. I got my voodoo going on with my reels and stuff. And then my regular webpage, Helfrich for Oregon. So if anybody can help out with that, any of those things, I'd appreciate it. And then I just looked at my 401k, my interest rate's at 22.91%. So
yeah, isn't that amazing? I mean, that didn't happen when Biden was in office.
No,
that. So
it was like 2%.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, with that said, I hate to go because there's so much more to talk about, but that's what we do. That's why we do it every week. Representative Helfrich, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Trent. Thanks, Virgil. Thanks, Senator
David.
Smith. Appreciate you guys.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you.
Again, this is the conservative voice of Southern Oregon on the Verge. You can find us on a host of however you like to watch your podcast or listen to your podcast. We're probably on it. Apple Music, Amazon Music. There's a list of like 13 different podcast things that we come out on, as well as YouTube. So if you want to see us on YouTube, and then on our Facebook, which you may be watching now, that will be up for the next 30 days, and you have to go to YouTube to see it. And I hope that we will have lots of people like and follow us. Let's keep this movement growing. Our intention with this podcast is to bring government to the people. We want you guys to know what's going on. We want you to know the truth, and we want you to know how it works. And that's our full intention. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And
Virgil, plug on Back to Basics podcast.
Give us a plug on that. I forgot all about it.
We started a podcast earlier this year, had Virgil on it. David's got to get on there, and it's just back to basics, and it's conversations. I have different guests and talk about how do we get government realigned back to the basics of what we need, which is smaller government, public safety, good housing. How do we just shrink government down and get better at what we need to do? That's all it's about. It's conversation, just like this.
And you have your mascot as a Sasquatch, which I love. It's best.
Yeah.
Back to basics for me. I've got one up here on my board. So You're doing some amazing things. Keep up the good work.
Thank
And
you.
with that, we will see everybody next week. Thank you for joining us.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you.